Mystara is famous for dropping a single line describing some awesome group, individual, or power player, and then never bringing it up again. The king of demons and the dark elves from the northern reaches, the supreme symposium of gnomish syndicates from Irendi, and the pragmati from the rulebook. Tall Tales of the Wee Folk was not immune to this, giving us the king of the leprechauns and Gwen ap Newth with a single line of description and nothing else. Then we get to the subject of today's video, Mab, the fairy queen of dreams and nightmares. We know she's loyal to Oberon, she's more powerful with her magic, and nobody understands her motivations. That's it. That's all that was written. One single sentence. Well, I'm not going to let it stand, as she is too cool a concept not to include fully in Mystara. This entire video is being written from the ground up as I convert a single line of text to the history of one of the most powerful archfey ever. I'm Mr. Welch. Welcome to Mystara, and everybody's looking for something. Queen Mab was first mentioned in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where she was said to be a tiny fairy the size of an agate who liked to tinker with the dreams of sleepers. And since Tall Tales of the Wee Folk strip-mined everything Shakespearean for references, that's why we have her. There's a lot of speculation on where he got his inspiration for her, from the Irish Queen Mab, a Welsh pun meaning a prostitute, an English queen from before the time of the Romans, and of course he could have just made her up. People have spent more time figuring out what Shakespeare meant with her name than he did naming her. But she has inspired quite a few takes on her in fiction and gaming, and the Vaults of Pandios also had their versions. In D&D, she's been one of the most powerful fairy queens, a hag, one of the three leaders of the fairies, and even a mighty warrior, though with that one, the author didn't seem to realize that Mab in Welsh means sun. For our purposes, we need to make her an archfey, not one of the regular fairies found in Tall Tales. It's time to go epic. Mab, as an archfey, stands apart from Oberon's court. She has nothing to do with the politics, only intends if absolutely needed, and rarely takes a side on an issue. She is hardcore true neutral in alignment, one of the few fae that are. No one approaches her for counsel, assistance, or to gain a boon. She isn't interested in politics. She's not going to be your warlock patron. What makes her essential to Oberon is she is one of the two most badass archfey in Mystara. No member of his court can come close to her power in the art of magic. While she has the same restrictions as her kind, she cannot create, only change. Her ability to sew people inside dreams and nightmares is the stuff of legend. Titania, the second most powerful spell-casting archfey, can only dream of the power Mab has. She can interact freely with dreams and nightmares, changing them, gaining her wonder from them, and inserting messages at will. No one knows how Mab gained her archfey status. If the myths are true, she was a small fey creature, often believed to be an Atomi, who was transported into the Demi-plane of Nightmares. Usually this is a very bad place for a tiny fairy to find herself, but Mab thrived. She fed off the nightmares created here and latched onto the dreams. She learned to control both and eventually manifest them into the waking reality. No one knows how long she spent in the demi-plane, but when she returned, she had the loyalty of all nightmare creatures, no matter their temperament. A lot of people were curious how the new archfey had won the fealty of faceless killers, murder elementals, and soul-stealing abominations, but wisely decided not to ask. In her archfey form, she's a tall, pale woman with short black hair and eyes the color of a starry night. Seriously, they're dark blue with a star field instead of having irises. She dresses in dark blues and blacks and in a fashionable but practical design. Her feet only touch the floor when she's lost in the dreams of sleepers. Otherwise, she flies above everything constantly. She rarely speaks, and even then only in a raspy whisper. She rarely initiates conversation and doesn't bother looking at people she's not interested in. She doesn't appear to carry weapons, armor, or use magic items. She prefers to float silently above the assembled crowd and quietly observe them. As her title indicates, Mab gets her power through dreams and nightmares. She can obtain her magic and wonder directly from sleepers. The closer the proximity to them, the more pure it is. It also works with nightmares, but those cause her to become almost aggressive in demeanor. She prefers to enjoy the dreams of youths, though anyone who will empower her. She experiences what it's like to live as a mortal and can see their hopes, fears, loves, and aspirations in the space of a single night. The Fae struggle with understanding mortals, so Mab takes a shortcut and uses their dreams to provide her with what observation and memory can't tell her, though she is getting a distorted view of what she's wanting to see. The sensation of experiencing dreams to her is almost euphoric, and in tightly packed cities at night, she's been observed dancing feverishly on the ground. If a soul is brave enough to interrupt her in her time of ecstasy, she will teleport away, almost ashamed of being caught in a compromising situation. Mab's most extraordinary power is to alter dreams, similar to the arcane spell, but on a massive scale. She can affect the dreams of an entire city all at once, though her power wanes after a few miles. She can change details about dreams to give them a deeper meaning, to make a nightmare go away, or to pass on messages, or to torture those she feels need to be scared. Mab does this almost subconsciously. She don't even know that she's interacting with the dreams that she's changed. Mab can't create a dream, that power is forbidden to the archfey, but she can twist a dream into whatever she wants over time. She has limitations about modifying some aspects to lead a dream in a new direction, too radical of a change, and the sleeper wakes up. She has to be careful how she progresses a dream. Turning a pleasant dream into a nightmare might take all night, while making it rain while dreaming of a picnic can be done in a few seconds. She has taken advantage of changing dreams too fast to awaken mortals in danger. Having a friendly animal turn into a monster as a jump scare will instantly awaken anyone. Mab has few friends or enemies. She serves Oberon because she thinks he brings order to the otherwise chaotic Fey court. She doesn't consider him an ally, but obeys him because they have similar motivations. Likewise, she has no true friends among the other archfey. Her standoffish nature doesn't threaten those who try to talk to her. But they aren't friends so much as not being creeped out by the spooky floating lady as compared to everybody else. She is protective of mortals even more than other archfey. As while they're not the only source of her power, she wants to see how many can achieve their dreams. She will follow the lives of particular mortals who inspire her and modify their dreams to keep them motivated to fulfill their desires. If a mortal impresses her with fulfilling their dreams, she will on rare occasions make herself known to them or give them a boon as a reward. The Queen of Dreams stands apart from the other Fae as she's not a social creature. She has no desire to join in their dances, never attends any of the mortal festivals many of her kind obsess over, and she never even takes part in the Archfey games. She has been approached by members of both the Seelie and Unseelie court, but they are quickly sent away with her trademark blasé stare of disinterest. She doesn't gossip, brag, or make small talk. The land of the awakened has little interest for her. The events and emotions experienced by the conscious mind pales compared to their dreams. She joined with Oberon because at least he tries to protect the mortals that provide her entertainment and glamour. He does it for twisted reasons, but he does an excellent job. She obeys the few commands he gives her for that reason alone. Other than those overlapping interests, they have little in common. She's so detached from courtly life, she's probably the only female archfey Titania doesn't suspect of lusting after her husband. The one aspect everyone finds curious about her is her connection to the Demi-plane of Nightmares. Mab isn't an evil creature, far from it. She protects mortals for her reasons, but defends them with an unwavering fury. However, she is known as the Queen of Nightmares for a good reason. In the Good Kingdom, she's the most potent spellcaster there, but a few come close. On the Prime, she's hardly a presence, and few mortals know anything about her, is that she's not one to put up with other people's shenanigans. On the Demi-plane, she's the closest thing they have to a deity. Her word is law here. If she orders a war to end, it's over. The creatures will lay down their lives for Mab, and of their own free will. They flock around her when she visits, trying to earn her praise. She doesn't lord over them, keeping with her stone-faced demeanor. But if she needs something done, there's no shortage of volunteers. Doesn't matter what creature it is. She's practically worshipped by Mugina, Diabolus, Soul Eaters, Nishru, Rexen, and just about everything else. The only two creatures on the Demi-plane that don't trip over themselves to get her attention are the Ostigos and the Brain Collectors. The Ostigos are fiends trapped on the Demi-plane, so they owe her nothing. Brain Collectors are sworn to their patron immortal Quiots, and he doesn't tolerate them serving another. Even then, if she encounters one alone, it will fawn over her like the other creatures. The reason for this is complicated, but it can be traced back to her initial visit when she discovered she could use magic to take the various nightmare creatures with her when she returned to the Prime. The creatures could act as they want, they weren't under her control, and didn't have to obey anyone. They begged her to use this power on them, but she balked at the idea of letting these creatures run rampant in the land of mortals. She made a deal. If they swore loyalty to her, she would bring them into the land of the mortals when she needed. Even a brief visit to the Prime without supervision was enough for them to agree. It wasn't just a few of them, either. No other creature of that power would even consider letting them out in the world. Within a year of making the offer, every sentient nightmare creature had sworn their eternal loyalty to Queen Mab. Her archfey status was acquired. She doesn't unleash the nightmares carelessly. When she brings them into the Prime, it's for one reason, almost always to protect mortals from some otherworldly threat. She assembles a group of her followers, tells them what is expected of them and what they are forbidden from doing, and then deploys them. Deploys is the wrong word. Mab unleashes the nightmare creatures. She's only done this on rare occasions, but the sight of a Fey Queen rending the night sky open to reveal an insane hellscape with unspeakable horrors raining down is enough to turn back even the most psychotic fiends. The nightmares destroy Mab's enemies, and she gives them adequate time to enjoy every second of it. Soul Eaters might not be allowed to harvest nearby innocents, but getting half an hour to work over some uppity Tanari will more than suffice. During the slaughter, Mab will float dispassionately, watching blankly while her army redefines the meaning of atrocity. She can also access the plane of dreams, but this proved quite dangerous for her and the rest of the multiverse as well. She feeds on dreams, and while it doesn't harm the sleeper, it's almost intoxicating for her. The first time she traveled to the plane of dreams, she found it overwhelming. She gained access to dreamers from across the planes, not just Mystara. She was saturated with more wonder than she had ever experienced. It flooded right into her very being, and gave her powers she couldn't imagine. She could tear holes in time and space to visit anywhere or any time. Her magic was supercharged far beyond that of even the hierarchs or greater gods. She'd become one of the most powerful creatures in the multiverse, capable of rewriting the fabric of reality with just a thought. Despite this overwhelming power that had flooded her consciousness, a tiny bit of her psyche remained. She knew what was happening was unnatural, and that so much power was dangerous, and this terrified her. If she used it, she would be no better than the gods that she despised. She flung herself back to the good kingdom, giving up the power on par with the old ones, spending decades bleeding off the excess wonder that nearly destroyed who she really was. She knows if she returns, the same will happen again, and she will only ever do that if absolutely necessary. And she hopes never to face anything that would require her sacrifice. That's the story of Queen Mab. I wanted to make her different from other fairy queens like all the other versions. She's Oberon's ally but not his friend. She has no friends except for various mortals whom she envies as they can dream. She's one of the most powerful creatures in Mystara, on par with high-level immortals. She commands the entire Demi-plane of Nightmares and has nearly ascended to become one of the most powerful creatures across the planes. Instead, she spends her time vicariously through simple mortal dreams. It's a complete waste of her powers, but it's the one use that makes her happy. Next week, we're headed to Blackmoor for an in-depth look at the Beagle, the starship that started the rise of an empire and led to its destruction, depending on which module you're reading. Until then, wake up. Time to die.